back to another podcast with the Three Money Amigos. It's been a couple weeks. The summer is coming soon, and all of us have been just in it, just working, getting our companies back in order, make sure they stay in order, and also spending some time with ourselves. And so every now and then, that's just necessary. But one of the things we talked about recently was the fact that as we grow, you all hopefully grow as well as your businesses grow, and you start to make more money. Is your circle still in alignment with the new heights that your business and or your revenue might be at? And with that, we're going to dive into some things you should think about, and we're going to have an open discussion about what that may have looked like for some of our clients and some of the things you can avoid. But before we do that, we're going to go around the room and introduce everybody. So, Beverly, if we can start with you.
Sure. I am Beverly Winstead. I am the managing attorney at the law offices of Beverly Winstead. We are a tax resolution firm. We help people that primarily have problems with the IRS, whether it's civil, we do some criminal. If you owe IRS money, if you're going through an audit, or if you feel like you've been treated unfairly by the IRS and want to go into tax court and sue, we help with those cases. So excited about this topic today.
And I am Joy Sistrunk, a Premier Group. We are a CPA firm in the Washington, D.C. area. We support businesses with all of their government contracting, accounting, and tax and audit needs.
And my name is Brent Simpson. I am the co-founder of Investing Education Academy along with Leon Noble. We help people learn about the stock market, cryptocurrency markets, and other investments. And soon we will be adding real estate to that education platform. So we are looking forward to it, and that will be done by Russ Brown. So if you're interested in any of those, you can go and find us at ianow.com. So today, we're talking about, does your circle match? Does your circle match where your business and or revenue might be now compared to where it was previously? Previously, for anybody listening, previously for you could have been last year. It may have been 20 years ago. It may have been 5 years ago. Just as a level set, there's no particular term, but previously, what we're really focused on is the growth in this conversation. There are many people in business who have grown from, let's say, low six figures to millions. And some of you all who have just hit six figures and you maybe have multiple businesses now. The rules change. Business structures are not all the same. The staff that you started with may not be the staff that's going to take you to, 10 million. Or they may be the right staff, but they need training. And so one of the things we notice is that, in the world of money, sometimes people grow, but their mindsets and also their service providers don't change. And that's a problem. So, Beverly, we were just talking, and I'm gonna ask you: have you seen this? Had a scenario where somebody has clearly reached a certain threshold, whatever threshold may be, but their mentality was back where their money or business used to be?
I've seen that on a couple of occasions, actually, probably more than I can count on my fingers. And I've seen it in situations where a person may have landed a huge contract. Let's say, particularly in this area, because you have a lot of government contractors, right? And you could go years and not get a contract, but then all of a sudden you begin to get contracts because you've built up those relationships and you now have gotten more information about what you need to present or how to bid on a contract, right, Joy? Because you got RFPs that come out, and now you know what you should actually present in order to get the awarded the contract.
Right.
And so a lot of times, I think in the instances where I've seen it is that people don't really have the correct team in place around them. One thing I was always taught is you want to position yourself for where you are going, not where you are at. And so I even appreciate those clients sometimes that say, hey, this is what I don't necessarily, I want to meet with you. I want to go ahead and pay for our consultation just to give myself an introduction to you because I know one day I'm going to make it and I want you on my team. And I appreciate that because that already gives them access to me so that when they do get awarded that contract, they already have in place the team that they are going to help them continue to be successful.
And Joy, what about you? Have you seen scenarios like that?
I have. You see it all the time. Like Beverly was saying, you see people who, they may still be. We were just talking about, in fact, Todd and Julie Chrisley, who are currently on trial for fraud, how they were still using the same preparer, I think since 1989. Even though they became millionaires and they had all different types of things going on, they never really looked back to see, do I have the right team around me? And so as a result, their accountant in court, his lawyer told the judge, I don't know enough. I didn't know enough to not help them commit fraud like that. So his defense was just ignorance, which is never really, which is almost laughable because that's not going to work. But he
Well,
tried.
he only said that, Joy, because he's also being charged
Exactly.
with bank fraud and wire fraud also, right?
Right. But and so that's a scary thing for you to get in court and for the person that was supposed to be helping you to say they didn't know. That's you. If you had talked to them beforehand, I'm sure if they had known that the man didn't know, they would have at least reevaluated the situation. They may have still stayed with him, but it should have given you some cause for concern. But it seems like everybody's just claiming like, oh, I didn't know anything. So if you need to make sure that the person that you're with, like Bev is saying, you got to make sure that they're prepared for your growth, because the person that you start out with, while well-intentioned, may not be able to grow with you at every level. The person you use when you're making 50,000 might not be the person at 1 million and 10 million and etc. Some people can grow with you and some people won't, but you at least need to ask the questions because
Yeah, I would even say, Joy, I was having a conversation with a client. Help them actually prepare some back tax returns, which we do a lot of that kind of work. But in terms of to help them get back into compliance,
right.
And they wanted to continue with me, doing the accounting and stuff like that. And I said, look, I'm gonna be honest, I would be doing you a disservice if I told you I could continue to work with you, because what you really need is a CPA, because the CPA is the person that can also position you for loans. They can help you do financial statements. And that's the kind of thing that you need. I bring that up because even as a professional, it's my ethical responsibility to say to a client, look, we're no longer a good fit.
Right.
I can help you get here, but then it's time for me to hand you off to someone else who's a better fit, right? So you want to make sure that even the professionals that you're using, they will be honest and say, hey, it's time for you to transition on to someone else. And I've had hard conversations with clients that wanted to stay with me, particularly when it comes to, I don't do a lot of work with people that have inventory, right? They may have a business, they have inventory, they have a storefront. And I say, look, I'm not the person for you. When you were just starting out, and I've been doing your return for years, but you now got to a point where for you to go to the next level, and I care about you enough that I want to see you go to the next level, that I say, hey, here's a couple of recommendations for CPAs, because that is also what the bank is going to be looking for, right?
But see, I think that speaks to your integrity, because you're honest enough to say that. And that is what probably keeps your practice full, because people appreciate the fact that you could be that honest. Some people don't always have that integrity. And you can kind of tell if when you go to your tax preparer, your CPA, you say, oh, I want to get a refund. And they're like, sure. No. And they haven't looked at anything. That kind of shows a lack of integrity. You don't really have, that person is not, and I promise you, when push comes to shove, that person is not going to be around to support whatever they did to get you that, if there's not proper documentation. Because Bev and I see that all the time. People just disappear like a puff of smoke, and they're like, oh, I'm getting audited and I couldn't get in touch with my person. Oh, you must have told them you was getting audited, and they've disappeared. Yeah. They know what comes next.
And that goes back to really working with people who aren't always in need.
Right.
Because it's hard for a person to make the right decision when they are in need. And I'm trying to avoid just saying, working with broke service providers, but it's no other way to say it. You're trying to give somebody their first big break, or you're trying to help out a family member, or you just think you're getting over. Like, you're like, you know what? This is a great deal. Stop trying to find the cheapest way to become millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people out there looking for the cheapest way possible to become millionaires. It doesn't make sense. And I mean, I walked into, and understanding we all have intuition. We all have that feeling where we know something's wrong. But some of us lie to ourselves. And we lie to ourselves and we say, we make up reasons why it's okay for now. Or we make up reasons why we're just going to do it this one time. And that's when we start going down a path that we can't dig our way out, because it's just a hope that you bury it so far, no one will ever discover it. And so many business owners are doing that. And Joy and Beverly have been really nice about the way they're saying it. And it honestly makes me mad. And you know why it makes me mad? Because I was one of those people. And I was one of those people who, when I got to a certain place, my mind didn't shift. And I didn't have enough for really just thoughtfulness about the gravity of getting into another income bracket and not changing the way I manage myself. It wasn't that my business wasn't changing, or I wasn't doing what I need to do as a business owner to grow the business. I wasn't doing what I need to do to manage the business, so I could then go to my service providers, who are Beverly and Joy, and say, look, this is everything. What do I do next? And because I had gaps in the way I was managing myself, by default, your service providers will have gaps in what they can do for you. And so now I understand the importance of staying ahead of my growth. And that's where we need to get to. And also, I'm now very realistic. I'm gonna probably be tens of millions of dollars at some point per year. And I need to make sure I stay ahead of that before I get there, not after I get there. And so, all of us, I mean, it might even be a person who's managing your email account. You might, or managing your database. When you have 10 people in there, that's easy. Anybody can do it. But when you have 23,000 people in your database, maybe you have to write a bigger check for somebody to manage those people. No, it's real, because we're losing money, or the person who's tinkering part-time after they get off work to help us with our database is never going to get us to across the finish line.
True.
But they're cheap. And so we're like, well, maybe. And that's when we start lying to ourselves. That when you say maybe and you're in a room by yourself, you already know you're lying to yourself. You're about to go down the path of lying to yourself.
Maybe it'll work. But I think everybody has those moments. Every business owner has it, because you're trying to weigh the cost benefit analysis. But I guess what we're all trying to say is, at the end of the day, you don't see the hidden cost. There's a hidden cost that you're missing, and you don't see that hidden cost until it smacks you in the face or something happens and you don't have what you need. Whether it's Bev and I, you don't have, your taxes aren't right, you get audited, you need a bank loan and your documentation isn't right, or they say something as simple as, oh, the tax return on your balance sheet on your tax return doesn't match what you have on paper. There's all kinds of things that are just hiccups that prevent you from growing the business the way you actually want to.
And everybody out there, we're talking money because we're the Three Money Amigos, and really we're talking about your money.
Yep.
And that's an important piece, but also about your mentality and your friend circle. If you're killing it, I know there's this thing called success guilt. And we start feeling guilty about the success we have because maybe everybody around us isn't experiencing the same level of success. So we do the same things with the same people, the same way we did before, because it makes us fit in. Sometimes you got to change your circles.
And it's funny, because I want to get back to the Christies a little bit, because you think about how much money that they had, the wealth that they had, and the charges are against them that they submitted false documents to the bank in order to acquire more property and stuff like that. When you have professionals that are in your corner, and I've told clients before, like, that have come to me and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And I say, don't do it. Because one thing about financial records is historical. You can always, they can always pull those records 10 years from now or 5 years from now. And it's going to be a got you moment, So you even want professionals around you that will tell you no. Like, even how I hire people in my firm is because somebody perhaps have said no to me. Like, no, that's not how we're going to do it. And I'm the boss, right? And it's because I know that they have my best interests at heart, you know. And
Mhm.
a lot of times, as business owners, because I'm a business owner too, we're running 100 miles a minute. We're just thinking about the revenue, right? We're not seeing what can happen on the backside, and we don't see what's in our blind side view. So you
Yeah.
got to have people around you that can say, I'm watching your blind side, and this is not how it's going to go down. And it's so funny because I think 2 weeks ago, Black China made a statement
Oh God.
that is
Yeah.
definitely going to get her in trouble. I'm 100% convinced that the feds are going to come after her for the statement that she made on trial because she's a big name.
Mhm.
She said she hadn't filed taxes since what, 2015?
2015. She said it was 2015.
Yeah, absolutely ludicrous, ludicrous. And I don't know who she has around her, you know, in terms of who her professionals are. And, you know, people that are high profile, I always say to them, look, one thing for sure, I don't care how busy you are, you have to make time to do your taxes. No ifs, ands, or buts, because you're doing everything else.
Right.
And that's real. And write the check, people. If you have to do the work, write the check. Because in most cases, the check that you write to make sure there's preventative maintenance on whatever it is you're doing is going to be a smaller check than it's going to be if you just do it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And cleaning things up is
It's
honestly, it's
expensive.
emotionally draining.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And so, you know, for us, we hope that some of you all listen to this and think, you know what? Well, what does my circle look like? And these aren't things that are just this ambiguous thought. Like draw it right on a sheet of paper. Just draw a circle. And just start writing names around a globe or something. Like who's in your sphere? Who's in your circle? And then maybe make a note, yes or no, next to them. Y or N or M. And then some the M's are maybes, the Y's are yes, people who need to be there, and the no's are people who they might need to go.
You may have outgrown them. You may have just simply outgrown them, and it's not a bad thing. Outgrowing people in your circle is not a bad thing. But what is worse is holding on to somebody that is not helping you to promote your growth, because that means they're draining a resource away. You're losing money by continuing to pour a resource into something that's not working. And that
Yeah, I think in that Chrisley case, right?
Yeah.
Their accountant or the person, like the person who was closest to them is the person who's trying not to say what's the word other than informed informed the FBI.
Yeah, what they say, snitches get stitches.
I was trying not to say that. I was like, you know what? It was like I was like, nope, not gonna do it. But it's real. It's honest. Like you have to know who's in your circle, why they're in your circle. And the reality is, the bigger you get, the more you are a target. And you know, you just said like they're a high profile person, Beverly. And I think it's one of those things where it's like the higher your profile, the smaller you really want your public profile to be. But it's hard to do. And so for, you know, any of you all who are thinking, well, I just crossed the 6-figure mark, or I just crossed the $500,000 mark, or I just hit that 7-figure, 8-figure mark. When you have these, I would call them benchmarks in your business, you should make that mandatory times where you do an examination of your complete ecosystem. And sometimes you listen to these podcasts and you never get an actual technique to help you do anything. So let that be this. When you first cross 6 figures, when you first cross $500,000, when you reach 7 figures, and then when you reach 8 figures, regardless of how well things are doing, you need to examine the key sections or the key people closest to you that really help you sustain sanity at that level. Business advisors, accountants, tax attorneys, your lawyers, your general counsel, your marketing representatives, your therapist. And yes, for those of you all who are like, what does a therapist have to do with what you all talking about? It costs money to be mentally unhealthy.
True. So
that affects your money. And honestly, I don't care about any money if I'm not happy. Like it can all go as long as I can keep my happiness.
Yeah.
So mental health is really, look at that when you're looking at these things. And at those points, you're thinking like, well, why would those benchmarks correlate with mental health? Because pressure changes. hiring, firing people change. I got a phone call today, and I don't want to like bring anybody down, so I'll say this, but I'll bring you back up after. One of my clients' employees killed their grandmother, and I just got the call today, and I was like, "What?" And they were depressed, and the company was so big, nobody had time to say anything. But it came out after the fact that everybody knew it. Like everybody, this person was having some very serious mental challenges, and no one had the time, and there was no scheduled check-in to say, well, let's go a little deeper. And so when you're out there and you're doing these things, if you can't do it, hire somebody that can. You don't have to do it all, but you do have to write a check possibly. That check is vital, because now with that missing employee, it's probably going to cost a couple $100,000 to replace them immediately.
Not only that, it impacts the culture of the company overall. So not only is the owner depressed, every person connected to that person is also probably feeling some type of pressure, and then that ripples through the culture, because then you have finger pointing about why didn't we do something differently. And so if they don't get a hold of it now, that it can have repercussions that they haven't even thought about at this point.
Yeah, and that really could have been directed to work.
Yeah,
easily. And again, I want to be very clear. As business owners, we can't interpret and understand every single thing happening in our businesses. We cannot. As business owners, we don't have this hyper tuned in sensitivity to everything happening emotionally with our employees. Not saying that either. But we are saying that at certain points where you need to check in with your business, check in with the financials, check in with your service providers, just to make sure they're still in alignment with where you are from your business growth standpoint, from a revenue standpoint, mental health standpoint, and just realign when appropriate. And be human. Like, we're all gonna make mistakes, we're all gonna miss things, but there are people out there like us that you can hire. You have to write a check that you can hire, but we will make your lives and businesses better. So that I think that's a good thing to leave off on. But I do want to say, did I miss anything?
Nope, I think that's
No, I enjoyed today's conversation, today's podcast show.
Yeah, and everybody understand when we say these things, and I'm telling you, for me, I'm the biggest culprit of making these mistakes. And I don't try to hide it. I'm not trying to act like, this is just me speaking from a mountaintop. I'm in it right now. I'm still trying to recover. I'm still trying to do things better to stay ahead of the growth that I'm experiencing right now. So it's not just us talking heads. We're living it too.
Yep.
So with that being said, in case you are trying to get in touch with us because you're thinking, woo-wee, that was a lot of information. So, I want to call them tomorrow. How could they get in touch with you, Joy? If you can tell us how
sure.
people can get
You
in touch.
You can give us a call, our team, at 301-577-6444, or you can go on our website, which is www.pgs-cpa.com.
All right, Beverly.
You can give me a call or someone in our firm at 301-306-1234. Really easy. Again, 301-306-1234. Or you can check us out on the website at www.irshelpattorneys.com.
And if you are interested in learning how to invest in the stock market, which has been depressed a lot recently, it's a great time to invest. It hurts if you've been in it for a while, but if you're looking to learn how to invest in stock market, cryptocurrency, and or you like to be there when we start diving into real estate, you can get in touch with us just by going to www.ieanow.com. Join our community. It's been growing. We're over 87% retention rate, so we're doing something right. And we look forward to teaching you all how to turn your money into employees. And for the Three Money Amigos, you can always find us at www.threemoneyamigos.com. Have a great day, everybody.